I need to figure out where to put the steering column exactly, and I've got an idea where it's going to be, but I need to cut a hole in the faceplate where all the gauges and all that kind of stuff goes. So this is what my plan is. I don't have a hole saw that's the right diameter that I want. I think it'll work. I can use that boring bar a little bit. Right here is where I need to drill it, and then I think what I'm going to do is set this, clamp it down, drill it with a hole saw, and then bore it out a little bit with a boring bar to get to the diameter that I want. Once that's done, then I can put that back on. Then I can figure out where the steering column needs to be, make a bracket to secure the steering column, and then that tube that I quickly laid it down to put on the bracket for the steering sector or the hand pump, I don't know what you want to call it. Then I can mount that up to the bracket that I'm using to hold the steering column. Then I know exactly where to pop my hole and weld that bracket to it. And I think that will work out really well. So let's cut this out. Perfect. Perfect hole. Oh, leave these. That's right. You don't want to mess this up because I want to keep that. Now I need to take the boring bar because that's a 2-inch hole, and the steering column's a 2-inch, and I need to give a little bit of play. So I need this thing right here. Okay. Basically, it's a 2-inch steering column. That's a 2-inch hole that I bored or cut out with that hole saw. This is 2 1/4, so that'd be an 8th-inch gap around it. Might need to go more. I like it. Let's keep it. Just need to clean it up a little bit, and then we're good. But I like that spacing. All right. Quickly rig this up. I have these two pieces here are little like half moon clamps with an Allen wrench. So that is what's going to hold my steering column. Here's a piece of aluminum that's a little smaller than 2-inch, but I'll use it to line it up, as you can tell. And then this will be welded right here, and voila. So what I need to do is I need to figure out the spacing, the angle that I want, and go from there. Oh yeah, that's going to work out really well. Might need my brother on this one to help hold it up, or, well actually, I can use this. There we go. That'll work. Tweak it over a little bit. That is what I needed. That's what I needed. Doesn't that look amazing? It's a perfectly straight shot all the way down through the firewall. All right, now let's take a look and see what it looks like.
there we go. Got a few hoses made. Still have 3 more to do technically on that remote under there for the fan lines, but at least now all the remote 1, 2, and 3 got hoses going. So, like I was saying earlier, or I don't know if I said this earlier, but you can add more blocks to this valve body here and stack them on and add more remotes as needed. So there could be a day that we add more. But for now, this is gonna be what our implements require, so we're sticking to this.
Hey, you like my hat? Got a nice welder's hat here. I was underneath the dash welding a little bit, and I had a couple embers going on my scalp that didn't feel so great even with a helmet on. So I decided, well, I better put this nice lovely hat on. All right, here is what I've got going on today. I'll do the steering column, but I decided I'm gonna switch to this. My curiosity is killing me to make sure that this fits. This right here is our heater and also air conditioning unit, fan unit, all in one. It's a red dot system. And so what I need to do, I think it's red dot. Yeah, that sounds about right. I need to make some brackets that'll bolt to the back of here, but then I can bolt it to the cab of this bud. Now where we're gonna put this thing, and we found something that was small enough, but it still produced a decent amount of heat and decent amount of cooling. I don't remember what the BTUs are, but we're gonna stick it underneath the dash against the firewall right here. So here's your steering column come up. We'll stick it right here. Then on the other side will be like your, I would say your fuses, and then your cab pressure fan will be on the other side as well. But if I mount that unit here, that'll give us some more room in on the side here of not actually, well, hitting it. So that's the plan on that. So I need to figure out how to bolt it, and I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna run a vertical piece of the angle iron down the side, or actually not side, but vertical, drill some holes to put those bolts on, and then this piece here will bolt to the cab. At least that's what I'm thinking of doing. Oh, yeah, I have an idea how to do it. All right, I got it. Just came to me. Just got it figured out. All right, let's punch some holes. Well, I can't punch them because these little tiny pieces of that die set there won't really work, so I got to drill them. So I'm going to come over here and mark them out, center punch them, and then, yeah, and then we can go from there. Hey, look, load and clutch. Yeah, it still has to go in the tractor. There's a lot of things that still has to go in the tractor. But anyways, we're getting there. Making it happen. All right, let's go see how these bolt up. All right, it looks like I'm gonna have to ream out 2 of these holes. They're a little off, but I do that a lot lately. Okay, cut that one out. Well, actually, that one might be okay. I can get away with that one. So it's just this one over here that I need to ream out a little bit. All right, now let's turn that off. I'm going to stick it up underneath there and figure out where I need to drill the holes on that firewall, and then I can bolt it to the firewall. And then on the back side of the firewall, I'm going to weld the nuts on the back side, so then that way when you have to take this thing off, you can just take the bolts out. So it'd be like 4 nuts back here, you weld them, pull the bolts out that side, and you can take the whole thing out if you need to and go from there instead of taking the cover off. So that's the plan. There we go. I'm going to tack those top 2 nuts on, and then I can take that red dot off and then take the bracket, put it back on, drill the bottom 2, and away we go. I probably should have recorded this, but I just kept going and kind of lost track of time, and I made this doohickey thing. Yeah, it's pretty. That is what's going to connect my 2 vents together. So what I did here, actually I thought it was a pretty good idea. So how this is going to work is to keep these vents tight against these. I decided to make a manifold because I got to have a splitter to go from my heating unit / cooler to run to here. And there's going to be 3 lines, one to this side, one to that side, and then one for the top for the defrost on the window if you need it. Okay, so this is what I did. I went ahead and welded that frame, the Y. I'm going to call it the Y. Why? I don't know, because it's going to be the Y. I welded it to the frame of the dash, and then these just pop out like that. Now these are just compression fitting, and I think what I'll do is I'll probably glue these in, and then they just sit right in and squeeze in to there. So I think that'll work out pretty well. It's not the prettiest, but nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to look at it all day long because it's tucked underneath the dash. Obviously, you guys get to see it, but yeah, I think this is going to work out really well. So obviously, yeah. And just like that. So I made a matching set. They're identical in every single way. Even the welds are exactly the same spot and splatter and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think that'll work out really well. My problem that I was dealing with is the opening for these plastic vents are 1.75 inches, and the opening that we had for the vent tube that we bought, it's not 1.75 inches, 2 3/4 is the opening of those plastic vents. And then this flexible vent tube is 2.5 inside diameter. So I had to reduce it down to make that transition, and so far I'm pretty happy on how it turned out. This is exactly why I like these. You can rotate them and shut them off if you need to, but you can also spin them all the way around, and you can turn them at any angle you want. So it's very convenient to find that sweet spot. So anyways, that's the planio. So now I got to take this one, I'm gonna go tack it up behind there and get that secure, and I think that'll be done. The next step I need to do is put the vent for the dash right there for the window. And then I think I'll be pretty much done with the venting, and then after that I am going to tackle the steering wheel, unless I get sidetracked, which happens a lot. Actually, man, I get sidetracked so much. It's actually plumb ridiculous. But I still get things done, and these wonderful nails that I have to space it as I drop it. And I just have to slightly trim this one before I actually install it. It's just a little too much. But other than that, we'll get that in. That didn't work. I need to adjust that. Okay, let's weld it. right, I think we're good with those. They don't really look that pretty, but they're gonna work. That's the key, it's gonna work. Now the angle that's going down, there's enough flexible spot in that tube there that I can run it up and around. I'm not worried about that. It's gonna be just fine. So it'll work. But yeah, I think it's gonna work out really well. Now I just need to start working on that dash vent on the front windshield. This is what I'm thinking. I think I'm gonna cough in front of you guys because that just seems like the most logical thing to do. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I think it's a 2x3 tubing, thin wall, and I'm gonna cut slots right here and here where these are gonna go. And then I'll put a tube on one side for the vent to go in and cap the other end. So then that way, the air will just pressurize inside here and then blow it up onto the window. It's probably not the cleanest, and it's probably not the most practical, but I think it'll work out pretty good. So, what I gotta do here is I gotta figure out my placement and where I want everything to be. And I think what I might do is these here came off that red dot air conditioning unit, and they're pretty decent, so I'm gonna use them. I think I'm gonna space them out where it looks like something like that. So you have your steering column, and then you'll have this one about centered with that angle of the dash, this one centered about that angle of the dash. And then now I'll have to make these a little bit bigger openings for the vents, and then cut this to the size of the vents so that these clip right into your dash, and then I'll go up underneath and weld this plate underneath the dash, and it'll be pretty good. But I think that's what I'm gonna do. So first, I'm gonna start marking on this and then figuring out where I wanna cut these holes. I decided to put the vent hole that goes into that manifold, I'm going to call it the manifold, in the center. There's plenty of room going around the steering column. That way it feeds it evenly instead of one forced one side and it'll blow out more. I figured that's probably the best idea. So looks pretty good so far, I think, I hope. Beautiful. All right, I would say I'm pretty much done with the vents. There's little touch-ups here and there, but I think I'm good enough. I'm happy enough with what's going on with it. So, all right, good. Next step is probably the steering column tomorrow. I'm done for today. Shut down the shop. Ooh, and trip over everything, but shut the shop down. All right, see you guys later.